there was lots of obstacles starting from actually getting the proper diagnosis and get her right support. At the beginning, it was very difficult to accept that my only child has a special needs. Getting to know her year by year, I realized that for every parent you have that view for your child that they will go to the primary school, then secondary school, then high school, then they might go to college, then they probably graduate, then they will get a job, they will get married. For me, that wasn't the case. I was constantly reminded that the life for my daughter might look a bit different, and unknown of what's gonna happen was the biggest fear for me. Now I think we are at that stage that things are good for us, so it's difficult to say what was the major obstacle. I think the journey throughout was very difficult to get the family on board to understand that your child will be always a bit different, then to get the compassion from others when your child has a meltdown in the middle of the shopping center, or when I suddenly had to leave the bus because my daughter was kicking off and I just couldn't stand people looking at me and thinking, oh my gosh, this is such a spoiled child. I would say big obstacle is also understanding and compassion from others. I would like to see children accepting children with special needs. I think it's also very important for the parents to teach their children to accept that there will be children with special needs, that they will be a little bit different, that their behavior might be different, that they might look a bit different. What I would like to see that there will be that understanding and compassion towards children with the special needs.
Biggest obstacle I overcome? Well, when I was diagnosed with this special rare condition, also accepting it. Also, I have been down to Devon before in my wheelchair on a holiday. That was one of my biggest obstacles. I've actually planned every way of how to get to Devon and how to get back. That was through all different forms of transport. I know I won't go down there on my own again, but it was an experience. My wife is a very big support for me, and also Headway have been a big support as well, because if I feel down then I can ring them up. And also the Ataxia UK. They are a charity that help people with ataxia. Ataxia covers all sorts of range of disabilities like Parkinson's, MS. Also, there's cerebellar ataxias and Friedreich's ataxias. Ataxia is the problem with balance, coordination and speech, and they have phone line, and also they do have special support groups around the country.
Well, again, it is about adjustment, because I remember not being able to read is devastating. Not being able to read, and that in turn, that has a knock-on effect, because if you can't read, you can write things down. You can still write things down, but you can't read them back. I've now got a reading machine. All this equipment's very expensive, so I had to get help funding that. But I've learned, IT has become very important to me. I've got an app on my phone that now helps me to read things. So technology has become very important to me. Depends if I'm too lazy to turn the reading machine on, I just use the app on the phone. So my life has changed so much, but in a good way.
The biggest obstacle I've overcome, I'd say, is learning to live with IBO. In the beginning, I still thought I could do the long walks and everything else, and it has changed my life. I've gone from someone that can do 10-mile walks to someone in a wheelchair because I can't walk that far anymore. So I'd say that was one of the biggest obstacles I've had to overcome.
I've probably had 5 major obstacles in my life, in my 60 plus years, but I think this is the biggest obstacle, mainly because there is no cure, and the barriers and restrictions. You can't just sort of recover from it the same way maybe other things when I was younger. And I think age plays a part with it as well, because when you do become older, you have less network around you. It's a different situation. It's quite easy to become quite isolated if you're ill when you are older. And being a woman as well, and being a single woman, I think they all sort of contribute their factors in having a chronic illness. So this is the biggest obstacle, because I can't make it better, no matter how much research I do, all the things I think I can sort of make it better, I can't do that with this. I do things, I try and relieve the symptoms, and I do things, but this is the biggest obstacle, because I know it won't go away, and that makes you quite powerless sometimes. I think Luton Active were very good, and especially when I started I did the hydrotherapy for the swimming exercises. They were very good, and I did join a few classes in the beginning, chair exercises. I think they're an important service, and I think encouraging people to get out and do things, even if you feel that you're limited. There are things you can do, even if it's sitting down, or even if it's sort of, but with Luton Active, with the swimming, the thing that impressed me was when you were doing the exercises in a group, to me, I felt quite supported by them, because they would say, well, you stay out of this one, you don't do that, you do something else. So they'd obviously taken the time to read up about my condition. And that actually means quite a lot when you have a condition that people don't know about and people just don't understand it. It's really encouraging and motivating when people actually take an interest and include you. I think how inclusive they are is really important.
I think I've overcome lots of obstacles in my life. I've had health issues all my life. I overcame severe asthma when I was a child by a new inhaler when I was 14, because I didn't have a good night's sleep for 14 years. So I've overcome that obstacle. I've overcome obstacles when my health condition was diagnosed. I've got myasthenia gravis, which was a muscle condition, and that was diagnosed in 2014. Because it was to do with my muscles being weak, I found that I was thinking about what things I couldn't do anymore. Oh, I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I can't do this. But then I went on the course at the Disabilities Resource Centre, and it changed my life to thinking the things I couldn't do, to thinking about things I can do. And even if I wanted to do the things I could do before, I could do them in an adaptive way. I can adapt the way I do things. Perhaps I couldn't do them in the right way that I did before. Perhaps I'll do them slower. Perhaps I'll adapt to the way that I'm doing things. So that's what I find when I get an obstacle in my life, I think myself, right, the obstacle's there, but how can I adapt my life or the way I do things, or the things I do, to be able to overcome that obstacle? And perhaps it might lead me to doing something different in my life, perhaps with that particular thing, or it might lead me to something completely different, which is still interesting. My husband is profoundly deaf. He has problems with communication on the telephone and in real life. to be able to lip read people, and sometimes people have an accent, or they might have a beard or moustache, or even they might be wearing a mask. And so I am his helper with communication. But I've always encouraged him to speak for himself and always encourage other people to speak to him. And so I use the telephone for him. So I say, we've got this thing, I say that I'm his ears and he's my legs.
My first obstacle was my work and finding a suitable career for myself. I had to overcome somewhere or other shape or form to overcome that. So my first work was in a retail sector because I never liked other things, because I became more easy in retail sector because I worked in different places in that sector as well. That was one of my biggest achievements when I got my first payment. So that was the first achievement I had.